Hi, sixth graders. We're on decimals unit, and our lesson is adding and subtracting decimals. Here's what you should title the top of your page. Our learning target then is being able to add and subtract decimals. So some things to think about. What is a decimal? Well, a decimal is a number between two whole numbers. So if we have 1 and we have 2, then the decimal, if we have 1 and 4/10, oops, that's supposed to be a decimal, that means that it is between 1 and 2. So a decimal means that it's part of a whole number. So if we have just 5/10, it's part of the whole number 1. What makes a number a decimal? So you could have 0 whole numbers and 23 hundredths. You could have 50 whole numbers and 2/10. So to make it a decimal, it means you have a certain amount of whole numbers or none with part of another. What is important about the decimal point? So the decimal point is what separates the whole number with the decimal. So in 50 and 2/10, it tells me that we have 50 whole numbers and then 0.2 or 2/10 of another whole number. If we have 4 and 25 hundredths, it means we have 4 wholes and then 25 hundredths or a quarter of another whole. So 4 and a little more, basically. Remember the decimal point, when we read it, we say and. So 4 and 25 hundredths. 3 and 5/10. We want to stay away from saying 3.5, and instead we want to say 3 and 5/10. And the and then is telling us we have something along with the whole number. All right, when we add decimals, this is what I will be looking for when I'm checking your notes. These steps, along with some of these problems. You don't need to do all of these problems. Watch me do a couple. Watch me do these first 2, and then I'll have you do the last 4. So step 1, line up the decimal points, fill in zeros if needed. So 4 and 56 hundredths plus 6 and 34 hundredths. My decimal points are lined up. I don't need to plug in any zeros because there's no blank spots. They all line up. And then drop the decimal point directly down, which was step 2, and then add to find the sum. So 6 plus 4 is 10, 5 plus 3 is 8, plus 1 is 9, and then 6 plus 4 is 10. If there's a 0 at the very end and there's nothing after it, we can drop that 0. So 10 and 90 hundredths would be the same as 10 and 9/10. 23 and 4/10 plus 1 and 287 thousandths. So notice that I'm going to put my 1 here so that my decimal points line up. And then I can see that I have 2 open spots right here and right here, so I'm going to fill them in with zeros. 0 plus 7 is 7, 0 plus 8 is 8, 4 plus 2 is 6, 3 plus 1 is 4, and then 2. I could have put a 0 in here as well. My answer is then going to be 24 and 687 thousandths. You can pause me and do these 4 and then come back and check your answers, or you can continue to watch a couple more examples. So 456 thousandths plus 9 and 3/10. I'm going to add 2 zeros. So 6, 5, 7, 9. So 9 and 756 thousandths. 5 and 43 hundredths plus 43 and 78 hundredths. Notice that I started my 643 way over here. And then I can always add zeros, but I don't need to. I'm adding zeros more like at the end instead of in the beginning. 3 plus 8 is 11, and then I have 11 again plus 1 is 12. Drop my decimal down. 5 plus 3 is 8 plus 1 is 9. 4 and 6. 649 and 21 hundredths. Notice that it's nice and neat. And then at the end, I circle or I square my box. Okay, 10 and 64 hundredths plus 56 and 7 tenths. So 10 and 64 hundredths is close to 10. 56 and 7 tenths is close to 56 or 57. I know 56 plus 10 is 66. So my answer is going to be around there. It's always good to ask yourself a reasonable answer before you start. So 4 plus 0 is 4. 6 plus 7 is 13. Add that decimal. 6 plus 1 is 7. And then 5 plus 1. So 67 and 34ths, which is close to what we had said. And then 9 and 3 tenths. Plus 4 and 222 thousandths. Add my zeros, so 2, 2, 5, 13. 13 and 522 thousandths. All right, when we subtract, we are going to do the exact same. So I will save you from rewriting all of this, and you can add adding and subtracting to your previous notes that you just did with the steps. And then just change for step 3, you could put add or subtract to find the sum or the difference. So again, we line up our decimal points, 98 and 7 tenths minus 54 and 3 tenths. 7 minus 3 is 4. Drop down that decimal. 8 minus 4 is 4, and 9 minus 5 is 4. So 44 and 4 tenths. 76 and 4 tenths minus 6 and 3/4. Notice the decimals are lined up. I add that 0. 0 minus 4 we can't do, so take away a 3. Make that a 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 3 minus 3 is 0. 6 minus 6 is 0, and then 7 minus 0 is 7. So 70 and 6 hundredths. 845 and 34 hundredths. You can pause me if you want and do the rest of these on your own, and then come back and check. Minus 32, minus 32 and 1/10, so add a 0. 4 minus 0 is 4. 3 minus 1 is 2. 5 minus 2. 4 minus 3. And then 8 minus 0. Remember, if there's nothing there, it's a 0. 813 and 24 hundredths. And then 99 and 76 hundredths minus 34 and 239 thousandths. Add a 0. Carry over, so 5, and then 10. 10 minus 9 is 1, 2, 5, 5, and 6. 65 and 521 thousandths. For this last one, I'm going to try to shove it right on the bottom here. So 123 and 45 hundredths minus 67 and 89 hundredths. So 15 minus 9 is 6. 3 minus 8, so that would be 2. 13. 5. 2 minus 7, so bring that, so it'd be 1, 12, 5, and that'd be 11. So 55 and 56 hundredths. Sorry, it's so small down there. And then last one, 5 3/10 minus 2 and 435 hundredths. Add my zeros. So this is a fun one with all the zeros. Carry one of these zeros. So we have to go out one. So this is going to be a 2, 9, and 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 3 is 6. And then take that away from there. So 4, 12. 12 minus 4 is 8. So 2 and 865 thousandths. I want to check that just to make sure I did that correctly. So I'm going to do that up here. 2 and 865 plus 2 and 435. So 10, 10, 12, 13. Okay, I just want to make sure I carried over all my stuff correctly. So that is a good example and a good way for you to check to make sure that you did it correctly. All right, so that's adding and subtracting decimals. Come prepared with your questions. Also make sure that your notebook gets into your backpack, and I will see you in class.